Podiums, wins and P3 in the Constructors' Championship. These were the goals that Aston Martin set themselves at the start of the 2021 Formula 1 season, and all of these aims seemed perfectly fair at the time. Sergio Perez had won the Sakir Grand Prix, and as Racing Point they'd finished P4 in the Constructors' Championship in 2020. They were also about to embark on an exciting and historic rebrand to become Aston Martin. The reality, however, well, 2021 hasn't exactly gone to plan. They look on for 7th place in the Teams Championship, which is 4 places lower than what they were hoping for, and both drivers Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll currently sit outside the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, and both of them have had their unconvincing moments, with Stroll a competent but inconsistent scorer and Sebastian Vettel fluctuating from podium highs to anonymous no scores. And all of this got me thinking, would things have been any better had they decided to keep Perez instead of Vettel and Stroll for 2021? After all, Perez had been the talisman for the team for many years, bringing both important funding and consistent point finishes, and it was a genuine shock when it was announced that he would be leaving the team at the end of the 2020 season. Whenever there was a chaotic race, you could count on the Mexican to be the one to steal a podium, and more often than not he was battling for the best of the rest position in the point standings. He helped them punch above their weight in the Constructors' Championship for many years, and he played a large role in saving the team in 2018, being the one to trigger administration and allow Lance Stroll to complete his takeover of the team, which set them on their current path. And in his 2 seasons as teammate to Lance Stroll, he comprehensively outperformed the young Canadian. In 2019, Perez was responsible for scoring 71% of the team's points, and in 2020 he scored 64% of their points. And in both of these seasons, it was his results that helped them finish as high as they did in the Constructors' Championship. And the fact that he was chosen by Red Bull for their second seat at the end of 2020 shows how high opinion of him had become in the paddock, which could also be seen in the shock from everybody that they decided to swap him for Vettel and keep Stroll for 2021. It's obviously impossible to know how Perez would have done for Aston Martin in 2021, but we can be pretty sure that the team expected Vettel to do the same job, if not better, that Perez had done, scoring consistently, competing well and taking podiums should the occasion arise. But it's not been the smoothest of seasons for Vettel. The team openly called his start to the year slow, but things seem to be back on track with a strong 5th in Monaco and an excellent podium in Baku. But then after that, he's only scored points with a 9th place in Paul Ricard and a 5th in the non-event at Spa. There were then the odd rumours over the summer that Aston Martin might even be looking to replace Vettel with Fernando Alonso linked to the drive, but they really did strongly deny those rumours and then put it all to bed by confirming Vettel for another season. He could of course had another podium in Hungary if not for the post-race disqualification, but actually as the season has progressed, it's now Stroll that's become the more dependable point scorer. He finished an impressive 7th at Monza, whilst Vettel came home in 12th, and he drove really well to finish 9th in Turkey, whilst Vettel made the error of switching to slicks, which dropped him well out of contention. Taking the season as a whole, the two have been pretty evenly matched, and this really does beg the question of whether Stroll has improved greatly on his previous performance against Perez, or whether Vettel has simply underperformed in that seat. I think it's fair to say that both drivers could have done more and scored more. If you consider that AlphaTauri have been relying on Pierre Gasly to score almost all of their points this year, you would expect Aston Martin to be much closer to them in the Constructors' Championship than they currently are. And it's also worth mentioning that the Aston Martin certainly isn't the rocket ship that the pink Mercedes was last season for Racing Point. They were badly affected by the floor regulation changes at the start of the season and have struggled to claw back all of that lost pace. But they could also have had 2 podiums and they have finished in the points regularly, so it's not like it's an awful piece of machinery either. And at the time of recording, they really do seem to be out of the fight with Alpine and AlphaTauri, and you have to wonder that if Perez was in one of those seats, would they at least be a lot closer to that battle for P5 in the Constructors' Championship. But I think the thing to remember here is that this is a long-term project, and the decision to take Vettel on board has implications that go beyond pure on-track results. The rebrand from Force India to Racing Point to Aston Martin is just the first part of a journey for a team to go from plucky underdogs punching above their weight to one of Formula One's elite teams. Lance Stroll wants his team to fight for championships in the future, and Vettel is a driver who knows what it takes to be part of a big team. As Aston Martin continue to develop in their new facilities and wind tunnel, increase their staff count and build for the future, Vettel is likely to be a key figure in helping it all go smoothly. It's also the prestige of having a 4-time world champion on board, as well as a hard-working personality and a great ambassador for the sport. So while it's fair to say that Vettel has underwhelmed in terms of outright scoring and consistency this season, he may be the best person to help them bounce back and grow into a championship-winning squad in the future. He might not even still be in the sport when the team does eventually reach the top, but he will have helped to lay those foundations for what's to come. And whether it's right or it's not, the team are tied to Lance Stroll for the future, and they have been adamant that he'll keep improving and find that consistency that he's often missed in his career. And in fairness to the Canadian, he has closed the gap to his more experienced teammates every season. He could even still finish ahead of Vettel this year should he keep up his recent good form. So yes, I do think that Perez would have scored more points than Vettel and Stroll if he was in that car, but I also think it's clear that the team have got their eye on the longer term picture. And Vettel and Perez could potentially have been a formidable lineup for Aston Martin, but we know that the team are committed to Lance for the long term, and he has been a match for Vettel on several occasions this season. And Perez himself has landed on his feet at Red Bull, so it might be that this all worked out in a way that's best for everybody. And with a rule change right around the corner, it's a chance for Aston Martin to forget the disappointment that has been 2021 so far. Let me know your thoughts on the Aston Martin situation in the comments, and check out some of our other videos that are appearing on your screen now, and thank you very much for watching.